Hello and welcome back to Ankford Place. I
Yes?
think we're starting to...
It's good to be on the road again. A wanderlust is nothing rare in the people of Rawatai, but often I think myself alone in loving the land as much as the sea. What shall we see next, I wonder?
So I was just thinking I would get to know these people. How are you holding up? I'm ready if you are. Same about yourself.
What shall I tell? I am Kanarua, born in the royal city of Takoa, from which rules the Ranganui. There. That is a solemn enough start. I am a lore chanter in the college there. Or at least a student of lore and a chanter both.
The accent is right, but don't look like you're from Raotai. Do I not? I take your meaning. My family is from the Deadfire Archipelago. But I've never seen the islands. My parents traveled to Raotai many years before I was born. They found more opportunity in Raotai. My mother took to crafting cannons, aspiring pirate that she is. And my father's work with the coral caught the eye of someone important, and then the Ranganui himself. The rest followed. What would you like to know? What made you leave the college?
I was on the usual path at first. Theology, the traditions, when the Gate of Great Teeth was completed. It was all my father had hoped for. The greatest commission he had ever received. But it was also a sign that Rawatai was changing, looking inward. Meanwhile, I was neck-deep in the writing of a dozen nations, marveling at all the things that lay beyond our borders.
Oh geez, nationalism. And in so many of those books and records I found accounts of ancient Inquith. Their Doods hold a great hunger for Inquithian relics. And why shouldn't they? It was the civilization from which the grandfathers learned to read souls. I decided that my third degree would be in history, and I would study the Inquithians. They were at the heart of so much discussion abroad, so many discoveries. It grew some mockery. We'd watch Adia draw itself into several conflicts with the Glanfathans over these ruins. Takoa had its own concerns. And then I found it. Section of the Tari Uratua. In a direct translation of ancient Griffin script, just there, without explanation. It seemed like a gift from the gods. What would you like to know? Tell me about the lore channels. My eldest brother thinks we spend our days in songs, weaving wreaths from flowers, but the truth is far less exciting than that. The college preserves what knowledge what knowledge our people have gathered. I would have it said that the lore chanters are Rautau for Rautai. Without them, we would have no beginning, no sense of how far we've come. We would forget ourselves with every generation. I'm only a student yet, but someday I'll return and tell the keeper what I've learned, and she will add my verses to the chant. What would you like to know? Where's this Gate of Great Teeth? Much as it sounds, a maze of walls like the teeth of some nautical terror. It sits outside the city and guards the corridor for invaders and storms. The storms have always been more trouble. Noitani, the angry titans, throwing themselves against Raotai's shores. Invaders I'm not so sure about. But perhaps I'm like the man who, being dry, throws off his rain cloak during a storm. So her mother would have me believe. What's a Ranganui? A king, our great king, ruler of all of Raotai. He led our people well, and he has treated my family very well. My father and he are great friends. As much as one can be friends with a king. I had other questions. Tell me about Raotai.
Ah, Rawatai. Shall I describe the pearl-white sands, the sapphire waters, the multi-hued tiles of the rooftops, like a mosaic upon the coast? Sorry.
Tell me about the kingdom of Raotai in general. It's a long journey by ship to the north, past Ixamiddle and across the sea. We've settled much of the Gulf, and established much more recent trading colonies all along the coast. We live as best we can, like anyone else. Land is plagued by storms, and so we stand together. Whatever corner of Raotai we hail from. Otherwise, we'd never survive. Tell me about the city you're from, Tacova.
Tacova is doubly famed, a royal city and home to the Coral Harbor. The Ranganui's palace is there, and we've a fleet of royal ships sitting outside the Gate of Great Teeth. Every so often, you'll hear the roar of a cannon being tested.
Oh, cool. The finest ships in Rautai and so the world are anchored there. And some of our brightest minds toil away at the artillery. My mother, for instance. Myself, I have no talent with gunpowder. That covers always home to the lure of college, of course. Now we get great many people traveling long distances to speak with the lawkeeper, or else hear the chants and peruse the books. At least that's how it was when I was younger. Things were a little different when I left. How so? You might say the winds are changing. The Pahari, they are traditionalists in a way. The Ranganui's son stands among their number. Talk at the dinner table has changed from how far a fleet Rautai ship might sail to how well defended our borders are. How far we have turned from the old ways. Then talk turns to Baron, Aduran and Valen merchant ships, and things were difficult when I left. There was much arguing among the elders. I trust the king has kept the peace, but I worry sometimes that things have taken a turn for the worse. So you're a mulling milksop. You aren't a traditionalist? Oh, I'm a regular firebrand if you ask the other chanters. I don't see why I can't appreciate our traditions and chart a better future. But so goes the debate. It sounds like you miss home. Some parts of it. Those silver cliffs, the sea. Those at least no one can change. The day I boarded the ship for Adir, the sunrise was gold upon the water, and I nearly leapt overboard and swam for home. Tacova has a lot of this artillery? Rautai has a lot of artillery. We made great advances with explosives. One of our artillery masters advised on the Godhammer bomb during the Saints' War, actually. In Rautai itself, our efforts are more modest. Bombards, cannons, we're having some luck with mortars. You might ask my sister if you ever visit Tacova. She captains the Ratuvana. She knows far more than I do and enjoys great fame for it. It may not be very traditional, but even the most strident demagogue won't touch the subject of artillery. They'll lose what support they've gathered. Do only Amor live there? Far from it. The Amor arrived more recently and formed the greater number, but others have joined us. So long as they call themselves subjects of the Ranganui. Some of my neighbors are Olin, for instance. They don't look like to see much, I've noticed. Wet fur isn't much fun. Fair point. People say that Kosalamo are very cruel people. Cruel in the same manner that Olins are feral and the Pale Elves graceful, yes? How Moa conquered Rautai long ago, and drove their enemies from those lands in the doing of it. Today the great kingdom of Rautai holds humans, Olins, elves, even Island Amora. What a campaign of conquest says about those responsible, you'll have to ask Aidens. In any case, yes, the reputation persists. Good if you want fighting work. Less so you would like to be a cook. What's the sacred book you're looking for?
The Tanvi Oratoa. It's not really a book. It's been passed down over the years in the form of a chant. I actually found it a little strange at first, seeing it set down in stone.
Well, that makes sense.
It's not quite the same as a song of worship, though we have paeans to the gods as well. More a kind of moral guide. It gives us something to aspire to. The, model of a virtuous citizen of Rautai.
Listen how everybody who's played Dragon Age just goes, it's the Kun. It's the fucking Kun. You're the Kunari. But peaceful and awesome. Also, the voice actor actually sounds familiar. Is that? Definitely heard that voice actor in other connections. Could that be Bull? Maybe I just want it to be Bull because it's so much like the Coon. Definitely sounds like it could be Bull, Iron Bull from Dragon Age Inquisition, but I'm not sure. Why look for it out here?
There have been arguments as to the chant's true interpretation. New translations even. But any rendition of it I find in the ruins of Engwith will predate those translations by 2,000 years. And finding it here also proves that we still have much to gain from trading with other cultures. I'd be lying if I said I'm not looking forward to seeing the look on everyone's faces when I get back. But in the long term, I just think that we can learn a lot from the Engwithians. A civilization like that is something to aspire to. A model for Rauatai as a whole, and not just its people. And I want to prove that all of this is worthwhile. Traveling, seeing the world for what it is. It's been so different from sitting in the Chanter Hall and studying books.
You think the Inquisitions were the true authors?
I don't know that the distinction is necessarily important. Rauatai has a long history, and our people have come from many different places. It matters less who wrote it than that I have found pieces of the verses all around the world. Wherever it came from, it will be Rauatai that decides what becomes of it. All the races and peoples of our kingdom coming together to create a great empire. You see, then, that I am loyal in my way.
Wouldn't it have crumbled away by now?
Much of Ingwith's writing is lost to us, but an engraving would survive. I found several tablets at the site in Examitol. The scholar Gabranos, in particular, seems to have been fond of writing on the walls. I may have to ask you to help me carry it, if it's a large stone.
This is a good guy. So describe this virtuous citizen.
Dutiful, learned, honest. The sticking point is loyal. Loyal to the people of Rauatai above all others. Fearless in their defense, and bold in aspiration. Tireless in battle or industry. An inspiration to one's people. But it seems it's not that far a leap from there to the idea that we must cast out foreign influences.
Is that what you aspire to be?
Doesn't everyone want to be a good citizen?
I had other questions. You're being hunted by the leaden key. So it seems it's all rather absurd. What harm could I possibly do them by finding this text? Perhaps they don't like Rauatai. Who are these people? I thought it only fair to delve into their activities in turn. I found word of a leaden key, but past that it was all ravens and superstitions. I might as well have gone around asking whether someone had ever seen a whale flying through the air. Some might well tell me yes, but the validity of their account is questionable. You don't seem worried about this. You haven't had much luck. Last one came up to me at a dig site and slipped on a muddy beam. I tried to catch him, reflex I should think, but it went right over to the other side and down 100 feet. I'm not really sure what he had in mind, but I doubt that was it. You know anything about this place? Not a thing. I'll take some notes. Okay, next one.
How may I help?
I know there's a lot of talking this time, but I want to... Aleph looks at you with quiet attentiveness. How may I be of service? Any thoughts on what we do yet next? May I will urge you to seek out the leaden key agents in Defiance Bay, yes? If this condition is any warning, we should find them with all haste. Thought I felt your eyes on me. Now come the words. I had questions I wanted to ask you.
If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skidding your knuckles on the wrong door.
Why were we supposed to meet? The why is you're a watcher. A watcher runs two roads of why. For me, it's more a matter of what. There was a time when I wouldn't have spared a thought for your words, or even bothered with you, but now, seeking out watchers is what I do, to put the truth to them. See which of the two ways they bend. Truth? What kind of truth? Either you're a dry field in need of harvest burning, or you're lost in the darkness. Either way, you can see differently from others. I can tell by the way you noticed the star first off. Not many can see it at first, nor the edges or the flames, but your eyes. Your eyes traced the path, that I could see. So which are you, dry field or lost in darkness? The day we don't trade that question back and forth is the day our path no longer will need to be joined. And the trial is done. So you don't know either. You know this nation is deceased. Don't need to be a watcher to see that the children, the politics, the men that stalk the roads with knives in hands and murder in their eyes. This land needs life again. New seeds planted in the burnt soil. And something tells me you can see the path to making that future happen, Watcher. Your kind always does. So then, we need to make sure you see truly now. This nation, its people, don't need any more lies blinding them. Nor do I. You test a truth. You don't blindly accept it. And how do you plan to test me? Sharing the road, of course. One truth to match another. Matching each other's pace, keeping rhythm. All priests can keep their teachings and rantings for my faith, my teaching. Sharing the road is a simple, hard truth. And when you knock one truth against the leg of another, why both legs stand firm? But if you strike a lie at the knee with the same force, why you make a cripple with one leg to stand on? Is that why you carry the staff? Is that why I... Perhaps your words are worth listening to, Watcher. But the truth will win out. Keep pace and we'll see. Let me ask about something else.
The cost of troubling me seems to worry you little.
Tell me about Margaret. Oh, you know her, you must. She's a many-headed bitch. What's your view on Margaret?
She's a goddess, as fickle as they come. And with all the failings you'd expect of an empress and a whore. Too many eyes, too many wants, too much to hold on to. That's the failing of a god. More aspects than words to describe her, like most of them. A god with many nations to oversee, only serves to spread herself too thin.
Although flame rarely crosses choice, so perhaps that's the only truth she embraces. Who knows? Gods get greedy. When it comes to fire, fire is a god's hunger. What are her aspects? War transforms, fire consumes, trials purify. Warfare, fire, consuming, purification, and most of all transforming. Trials as well, but all things are put to the test anyway. Trial can consume, purify, transform. They're all linked, although its heart is this flame, and the flame is what matters, is the source of all things. Guess they could have started with that, eh? Any fool around a campfire knows that. Without flames, fire, we would have made little progress in the dark. To hear some of the inner fires tell it around the health and bells, even in the halls of Ashfall, you'd think that fire brought life to man, and that fire was Margaret. Some of the older texts say she rubbed her hands together and they burst into flame. Another god shafted her like a poker. There are different perspectives on her then. Mine is only sight among many. Only one side, but here's one. I can speak to how the Lucian side sees her. And that should tell you enough. Let me speak to what an endurance sees. And what does an endurance see? They have a proper, polite translation for her. Excellence in war, tactical discipline. That's why they lost the fucking colony, of course. They're probably still quoting that while we had them bent across the decks. All their guns and cannons are fine, but useless when your staff is cracking light into their skulls, dispensing red gifts left and right. Adians call that elevation, divine awareness. Those words are welcome as shit on one's boots. That's all they took back with them while they were running. A lesson learned at the wrong time. Almost feel a pang of sympathy for them. Almost. Listen, what you mean? The title of God is knowing, isn't knowing a God. Adhering to words rather than walking the path, testing yourself in the heat of it. Walk until the words are stripped away and you'll feel it, burning in your heart. That is the lesson. That adherent politeness, that pretty adherence to that pretty adherence to the word of Scripture as they saw it. That burnt their ships, scarred them, kept them running throughout the Derwood campaign. Divine awareness. There's no true faith in waiting to be tested. The best in battle have already shit themselves plenty. Shit themselves until they're drying and focus on the killing. How about the questions?
I suspect the answers will seed more questions.
Want to know more about you? Where you from?
Where I hail from? From one of Margaret's fires. A cathedral. Ashfall. Made of blackened trees. I studied the scriptures there. The fires carved into the land. The trunks of the burnt trees. And in the factories where the rifles and cartridges were shaped. All are chapels in other devotions.
Other devotions? For Margaret, any fire is enough for worship, physical or not. Blacksmith's anvil, craftsman's bench, all arenas where the fire is waiting to be born. It's just a spark, like an alchemical fire. A spark to cartridges to speed them to the purpose. The purpose? Well, their purpose then was many thems ago. Beard was a little brighter than now. But yes, cartridges, guns, all had a purpose, and that purpose was punching holes in mages and letting their pompous air hiss out. Woke their kind right up and kept them staring at the ceiling in the dark instead of sleeping. That's for certain. Pompous air indeed. A little violence as in accounting, an answer for unchecked power. Well, Margaret gave an answer for that. Margaret put soldiers and mages on equal footing. Mages were troublesome in that time. Firearms made every man a mage. And a caster's pretty arcane shield was little match for them. It turned each commoner into a beast that could spit fire. It leveled the field of battle, that's for certain. Made many a mage a grave. Tell me more about Ashfall. You're more curious about it than most of Margaret's faithful. What else can you tell me about Ashfall? What more to tell? It's one of the greatest fires of Margaret on the high seat. Some say the blackest, not of eve, but of ash, all the remains of the fire has fed. I called it a cathedral before. That's not the full truth of it. It's more a battlefield. It lies in the heart of the war of black trees. Its timber is built from the burnt forest there. Its timber blazed with fire. One of Margaret's greatest battles. Many of us helped shape the war effort there. With flames and firearms. What's the cathedral like? Keep troubling me and I may extend the tithe bowl for each question. Enough questions for now. Let the road keep us until the next campfire.
I'm here.
Okay, last one.
Even if you are putting one over on me, it's nice to have a hunting party again.
You've been searching for Persic for 5 years?
5 years for me. Must be 30-something for Ichimak.
How's the search going?
It's been a long hunt. A long time away from my family. Before, I'd crossed the tundra of Nasitok following caribou herds. I didn't want to leave Kalu and our children, but I was eager to visit lands my people rarely do. But 5 years without finding him. It's like 2 hours of necking. I'm ready to be done with it.
Why do you have to find Pasok?
Soul recovery is an old village tradition. We call it the Tarnek Elite Sok. Once in a generation, we seek the soul of a much respected and long dead village elder. We tell him what's changed in the village, how people remember him. The only other Tarnek Elite Sok during my lifetime happened when I was a girl, not long after Persock died. We feasted on blubber and fermented milk for a week, and we honored the chosen Huntress as a hero. Then she left, and we returned to our duties. We still sang her name to the skies during festival season, but we otherwise didn't speak of her.
I'm sure your village still remembers you, Zagani. You're kind to say so, but I'm not so freckled that I need my name chanted in the meeting halls.
It's not being forgotten by my village that troubles me, but sometimes I wonder how my husband and children remember me, if they think of me often.
They must. I would like to believe it, and yet sometimes days go by and realize that they have not crossed my thoughts. Such days are rare, but they happen. It shames me to think of it, but more than that, it scares me.
Still, there's no point in dwelling on it. More often I find myself wondering whether Persock will remember us. You claim to see souls. What do you think? Do you remember your past lives?
In fragments. Really? What's that like? It's strange. Feels like I'm going crazy most of the time. I don't envy you. Guess I'm not gonna have to worry about someone else's past life.
Makes me wonder what Persock remembers about our village. Or if a turn at the wheel has yanked the details out of his mind like it does for most of us.
What would you tell him about your village?
Masuk is probably much the same as it was 100 years ago. We live between tundra and frozen forests, and the land takes as much as it gives. But our hardships bring us together. And the elders truly unite us. They keep the stories of past generations, and they guide us from season to season, through good years and lean.
Recently there's been a lot of good years. My aunts say we've had fewer clashes with neighboring villages thanks to the hunting territories that Persock helped establish. In bad years we rely on trade with the merchants that pass our shores. We exchange walrus tusks and seal bells for grains that last us the hard winters. Persock brokered a lot of those agreements too. He got this from one of the Amur ships that they used to trade with us. Sounds like Persock did a lot of good for your village.
That's what I'm supposed to remind him.
Sounds like you're on a hunt of your own though. You feeling the thrill of a chase? Or ready for this to be over? I enjoy the adventure. Every day brings something new. Refreshing indeed. Might as well keep moving while we got some daylight. I'd like to talk some more. What's on your mind? You have family back in your village? Of course, we've never seen a woman who hasn't had the chance to find a mate and have a couple of children on of her own. Are you worried your husband will... Are you kidding? I'm the best shot in Masuk. Tell about your children. I had 5. Yakona, Estoya, Natur, Anik, and Malak. Estoya and Anik died young in long, lean winters. Malak was barely talking when I left. He probably won't know me when I get home. Even in Nasitak, I spend most of my time on the hunt. But then, it's easier to relish the hunt when I know I'll see my family enjoying our kill. What's your husband like? Kalu's a good man. He raised our children well and built us a stronghold while I've been away on hunts. Our parents chose us for one another when we were still young. Not the way things are usually done here, but ours chose well. We came to appreciate each other as helpmates first, then friends, and then... Well, you know how it goes. That's all. Curious about your search for... No. Want to know about your homeland. Nasitak? It's a big island in the middle of the Deadfire archipelago. Just off the coast of the White Winds. Tundra, mostly, with a few snow-covered forests in warmer parts. Most of us live in fairly small villages by standards here anyway. Mine is Masuk. What's Nasdaq like? Cold, but not as cold as White Winds. The few Kiv who visit Nasdaq find it sparse, but there's plenty to sustain a village if you know where to look. We get hides and meat from caribou, seals and the small whales. Bone too, which makes fine bows and arrowheads. Community is important to us. We survive our periods together, so everything we do, every week-long hunt, every wall we build is for the village. Tell me more about Masuk. We're a Thunder village. To an outsider's eyes, we're probably not much different from the others around us. But our elders have stories that go back hundreds of years. Epic hunts, battles with neighboring village, sojourns across the sea. We share those stories too. Who lives there? Mostly Inutenic like me. People here call us boreal dwarves. Migratory clans of Glenfallen from the White that went sometimes spent the colder seasons on Nothtuck. But we don't see too many other foreigners who can tolerate the elements. Those of us born in Nazatak like to say we have a hardly layer of sealskin just beneath our flesh. Tell me about it, Itumuk. A good hunter but not much of a talker. That's been fine by me. When we hunt in Nazatak, we almost always bring our foxes with us. They help us track and flush game. And their fearless defenders against bears and snow leopards. Clever Itumak has always been my favorite. What did you do back in Nazatak? I'm a long hunter. I stalk game across the tundra with some of the other wives. We usually hunt caribou and oxen, but we find hatters and birds too. It's a good and respected position. Too much of Nazitak in the company of my friends and sisters. This is one of the pleasures of life in Masuk. Curious about yours. What are your first thoughts on my search? Helps to know what you're hunting. You got a lot of tracks to follow, but where they'll lead us is anyone's guess. Curious about your search for Pasok? I'll tell you what I can, but Tanaki Sitak pilgrimages like mine are rare. Why do people have this tradition? It's something we've always done. The elders say it was first begun to forge ties with other villages. It's hard to fight over caribou herds when you see someone you respect on the other side. We also believe that passing our history on this way keeps us stronger. And it helps them, the elders I mean, return to us after we've been away from us for a generation or more. They can use the experiences they have accumulated over lifetimes to lead the village again. Are elders usually reborn so far from the village? Most often they return somewhere in Nasdaq, a member of another village, or they were reborn among the Clanfellan and the White that went. Even so, it's hard to say what's usual. When my grandfather was a boy, the elder came back as a polar bear. The Huntress chosen for the task had to recite half her village deeds while running from the beast. Even so, there's always been journeys longer than mine. Some last decades, and the Huntress doesn't always return. What happens when the other's found? That depends on the man or woman he's become. It's easiest when the rebirth happens in another village of Nasdaq, but the tradition is understood. Even the White that went to the southern islands of Deadfire Archipelago, people understand this custom and will welcome you politely enough, even if the souls do not remember. But sometimes you find someone whose soul has no memory of the village, and you have to tell on people who remember him still. As disheartening as this is, you hope that the reminder will aid his soul in the future life. How did you get pictures to come search for Persok? Another old village tradition. The others watch the caribou migrations and cast seal bows to determine the right time for this journey. When the omens were determined, all the village wives drew shark teeth. We're the ones that go away to hunt and fish, so we're the one best suited for a task like this. Anyway, I cracked a little tooth. Traveling so far is a rare privilege for us, but as you can see, the journey can be unpredictable. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so that was a lot of talking and talking and talking. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you join me next time for more shenanigans. Until then, bye.